It's that time of year, to quote the famous line, winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Actually, it's here, and even deep in the heart of Texas where I live, they are predicting snow and freezing weather. That means no flying for a while. On several occasions, I've made videos on RC flight simulators, which are great for staying in practice even when the weather doesn't cooperate. So that got me thinking, what were sims like before we had virtual supercomputers at our desks that could portray photorealistic images? So enter one of my other hobbies, which is collecting vintage 80s computers. Now, I grew up with many of them, and I still take great pleasure in playing with them. In my collection are once great machines like Atari 800, Commodore 64, and Amiga, and plus the Apple II. I even have a couple of flavors of TRS-80s. My most recent addition is this TI 994A, which has actually a pretty interesting story. Anyways, my favorite is by far the venerable Commodore 64, which I have one right here. I've had one since I was a teenager, actually. The Commodore 64 is a very primitive computer by today's standards. It can only display 16 colors, its CPU ran at 1 megahertz, and it only had 64K of RAM. Not 64 megabytes, or even 64 gigabytes, 64 kilobytes. Only enough to play MP3 for something like 4 seconds. But that's all we had, and we liked it, which made it the best-selling computer of the 80s. So when major RC company Dave Brown Products decided to make the first RC flight simulator, the near ubiquitous Commodore 64 was one of the platforms it ran on. So it was off to eBay to find my sim, which surprisingly were very few options for the C64. Most were for the IBM PC. That version must have been the best seller. But I eventually found a candidate to bid on, which I won. See, for the glorious Commodore 64. What I got was just a controller, which is almost entirely made of metal. Gimbals are decent, if a little cheap feeling. Throttle has soft stops at top and bottom. There are also 3 push buttons and trims on all 4 axes. Interestingly, the controller uses both joystick ports on the Commodore. Alright, let's plug her in and try her out. The controller didn't include any software, but I was able to find a copy online. Ooh, just look at that classic blue screen and prompt. No GUI here. You're going to have to type in your commands like a real man. Once done, you're rewarded with a loading screen. I wonder if John Kelland is still around. I would love to talk to him. Anyways, it takes about a minute to load, where you end up with an option screen. Selecting option 1 starts up my virtual engine. Yeah, almost no electrics in those days. Set the controller as prompt. And here we go. Centering the controls means you start at half throttle in an immediate takeoff run from behind. In short order, I was up in the air. We're up. Ooh, look at that, look at that. It works. There's a good bit of information on the screen. Distance from your location, model speed, throttle level, and altitude. Plus analog markers for horizontal and vertical speeds and altitude. Pretty neat. At the top right, there's a radar-like display of model position relative to the runway. Graphics are vector line drawn to make it easier and faster for the computer to render. Though I didn't notice they made an attempt to help with visual orientation. Guessing the stripes are the bottom of the wings, stripes on the bottom, turn away, roll, here's the top of the wing. Neat. Looks a bit like some sort of pattern playing. Whoa! Not terrible. If I can land it. Oh, I think I landed. It landed.
I decided to try some basic aerobatics, which didn't work out so well.
If I can do a loop. Come on, baby. Come look around. It kind of stopped. Oh, wait. Velocity went down to 0. Velocity, here we go. 53, 76. Try to pull another loop at higher speed. No. It stalled. Oh! Oh! Ha! Even back then I had repair estimates.
A crash will auto restart, or you can hit F3 button to restart anytime. I pretty quickly realized there was an issue with the elevator inputs. I apparently had no down elevator control.
Why my elevator is so wonky. Alright, let's try a roll. Roll it, baby. Down the elevator. Keep rolling. Oh! It's level. Try some up elevator. Up seems to work. How about down elevator?
Yep, not sure why, but I'll have to troubleshoot that
I
later.
have a problem, there's no down. How about rudder? Yeah, I think the rudder works a little bit, yeah.
One last thing was to look at the plane setup option. 7 options that set stall speed, stability, sensitivity, and maximum power. I chose to increase the power to maximum, which is about 50% more than default. The difference was very obvious. The model really came alive.
I got more power, see if I can do a loop. Hey, it'll do a loop!
I was impressed the sim made such changes really noticeable.
Definitely seems to have a power boost. A roll. Hey, I actually did a roll this time. I'm gonna do something like a split S. So come up, roll inverted, roll back. Oh, there we go. A little sloppy split S. Really jittery, but it works.
Though I still crashed due to the pesky elevator issues.
Like I can do. Well, kind of rolls. Too slow.
This is getting pricey.
Real set of the speech. Ouch.
The big surprise was I was generally enjoying playing with the sim. Sure, it was crude, simplistic, and low resolution, but it's obvious quite a bit of care and skill went into the design and programming to have something run this well on a system with such low processing power. When this program came out, IBM computers were really expensive. Apple's were popular, but were also a bit on the pricey side and starting to get a little bit long in the tooth. So for many, the Commodore was the only really affordable choice. This is a marvel of engineering and a great showcase to the capabilities of this 8-bit system. I should note that there's also a helicopter version as well.
Okay, so I think that was both painful and strangely cathartic. Obviously this is really primitive compared to what we have today. But in that same vein, it's really not that bad. It was actually basically workable. Obviously, the frame rate is atrocious. Of course, this is a very primitive. Nowadays this is not a whole lot of processing horsepower considering what it's had to do. But it worked okay. Although other than having, I think something's wrong either with the joystick or the port that I don't have any down elevator. So that's kind of weird. Everything else worked fine. The throttle worked fine. And up elevator worked. So maybe something in the transmitter or the pot. But it was, I think, something like this at the time would have been good to give you the basic muscle memory needed to fly a model airplane. It was obviously not terribly responsive, but responsive enough to give you an idea of what the throttle does, what the different controls do. You can kind of sort of mostly get orientation while you're flying, getting the muscle memory when you're flying towards you, when things are backwards, getting that done. I think that's what this would have been useful for. Not so much any type of aerobatics other than loops and rolls. That's about the only thing it responded to competently or even understandably. Anything else, it got really funky. I tried to do some basic stuff. I guess I did a split S and half cubanate eventually, but the frame rate really gets you when you're trying to do stuff, and it's, you're doing two things a second, 2 hertz of frame rate or whatever. It was interesting though. Obviously, the frame rate would change because of the processing power. If you went further away, things smoothed out a little bit, but you couldn't hardly see anything. You get closer up, you start seeing stuff, and then the frame rate went to crap. But I think at the time, I would have really liked something like this, actually. When I was a kid, I never had one of these. These things were pretty expensive. I played one very, very briefly at a show back in, I think, the late 80s. I went to an RC show, and I was a kid, and I thought, oh, it was cool. They had one on display. I think it was a Ram show, as a matter of fact. And I don't think it was on a Commodore. I think it was on like an Apple, if I remember correctly. And so they made these for several different platforms. I know Commodore 64, Apple, and I believe the PC as well. I don't think it touched the Amiga, but it's possible. Don't check me on that. But it's still, I think at the time, this was really, really leading edge stuff. It really took advantage of, it's interesting for me as a Commodore person, because Commodore always had digital joysticks, meaning basically there's on, off, where you're playing your games. And here you have 2 analog sticks, throttle, elevator, and some buttons. And so I think this really, really maxed out the input capability of the Commodore 64 with their analog that actually has provisions for analog controllers that are very rarely used, like for me for paddle controllers. But here you're using it for 2 axis joysticks, and that's really fascinating. So it really kind of gives kudos to the Commodore and some of its capabilities. Oops, I guess my flame flew away. So looking at this, realize how good we have it these days with our desktop computers, even laptops, tablets that can do some really fantastic, beautiful stuff that just simply wasn't available 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. As I mentioned earlier, I do have an Apple II Plus, as a matter of fact, and it's a little under the weather at the moment, but it does work. And so it's got me curious about, I wonder how well such a simulator like that would work on the Apple. So if I ever find a good deal on a Dave Brown joystick set for the Apple, I think I'll give that a try as well to see what was the best platform other than the IBM available for the Dave Brown Flight Simulator back in the 80s. But thank you for joining me this time on this sort of whimsical look into retro computing related to RC modeling. I never thought you'd hear that on this channel, did you? Well, and I'll see you again next time.
Hi, thanks for watching. Please take a look at the video description below for special HobbyView sales and discounts. Your purchases help support this channel. Happy modeling.
Oh.